Yeah, well, I think, yeah.
Well, that 20-second thing was huge. I mean, I don't know. I mean, the dates, the location of the celestial beings. I mean, I don't know. You know, if you look at astrotheosophy, I think that's what they call it. What's the other thing? Just the presence and the imprint of the stars on humanity. If you go back into the oral histories, into even into religion, theology.
Mm.
I was watching something last night. The Sumerian. It was involving the Sumerian tablets, whatever they call those. Starts with a K, cuneiforms, and it was talking about the story of Moses.
Mm.
And it was a story of Moses. It was just different names, and it was just talking about the things that have been carried over, and that's the oldest. Obviously, that's the oldest written text that we have, and it just makes you wonder. So where did that come from?
Mm.
And was it a real story? And I don't know. It's just
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
where my head is today.
Right.
So
And that it can do us in, can't it? Because everything's streaming so quickly that if we are wondering about things, it can do us in, do our heads in a lot quicker now. I think you've frozen, or have I frozen?
yeah. Well, and I think too, I've come. This
Oh,
is wild. Yeah, this happened to me yesterday.
oh, and it happened with Mary too. Something happened weird happened with Mary.
Mary.
Right.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's
Yeah.
been happening. I don't know what's going on.
Mm.
Hey, Lenora Pfeiffer. Yeah, but anyway, I was just
Mm.
going to say that to me, like when I'm present, which is more and more and more of the time. I think it's got to be
Mm.
the same for a lot of people. You're
Yeah.
more present, and I realize that information that you come across in the flow, like such as even turning on YouTube, and it's just as uh, credible, just as substantial in terms of information, just as when you get a download. The information
Yes.
comes to you for a reason, and
Yep.
all that stuff. But God, yeah, I feel like I'm, almost like, man, I need a vacation. Like it's
I,
just
I,
like,
I think we're all piecing it together as all of the sharings have been kicking in over the last couple of weeks in particular. I think we're all bringing to the table a puzzle piece, and
hmm
all of this. I have quite a few to share today, and I do think it will help with what we're talking about now, just what we're actually going, the mechanics of what we're going through. Yeah,
well,
never
go.
before, literally never before.
Yeah, it feels like never before.
Yes.
I'm just trying to remember like 10 thoughts from when I woke up, which was like 45 minutes ago. And that was a
Yep.
hard sleep. But yeah, there was a lot of information coming in.
Mm.
There was a lot of stuff coming in. It was almost like the human and the soul. And the soul's like, hey, we got this. Everything's on track. You understand. One of the first thing I saw this morning was an old DJ friend of mine put up a post and it said, I am human from the stars. And I'm like, yeah, okay. And then the human kicks in. It's like, man, I miss Morgan. I'm going to tell her.
Mm.
I sent her a
Yeah.
message. I'm like, I just fucking love you. I don't know what else to
Mm.
say.
Yeah.
Uh, and then there's just like, and I'm also tired
Mm.
a bit.
Mm.
I think a lot of us are, which is not a
Yeah.
bad energy. I
Mm.
mean, I think that would drive resolution faster. Us just at a spiritual level being like, man, I'm tired. It's been a long trip. I've enjoyed it, but let's
Yep.
push it.
Yep.
So what kind of information have you been getting?
Um, well, there are more experiences that have happened, and I've got a few things I'd love to talk about, and I think to piece it together, we'll start with September of last year,
All right.
and It was not long after the Gympie pyramid stuff was happening, and one night I woke and I was actually talking to Morgan just after it had happened, and she was having some type of an octahedron type experience as well.
God, that was a while back. Was that September?
Yeah,
I remember
that's September.
that.
Now,
Yeah, I remember that because that's when
September,
y'all met too, right? Isn't that about when y'all met?
yes. So September, I'm finding, is very pivotal to why we're feeling so tired and so weary now, because something's happened, and we're either we're aware of something huge has happened, but the mechanics on the body are trying to keep up with it. So I had a profound experience throughout the night.
When was this?
So this is in September.
Okay. So this is when you met Morgan. This is in Gympie. So she was there. And I remember doing a session with her, and I'm pretty sure it was just me and her. And it must have been at the same time, because that's when that came up. The octahedron thing had been coming up, and she was talking
Yes.
about it. And then we have this session. She's in Gympie, and so I saw like the land, and I saw her standing in Gympie, and there was this big four-sided pyramid, right? And then there was a octahedron in front of her, and then at the other 2 points, one was on the land and one was in the ocean. There was 2 other sisters, and they both had an octahedron in front of them, and some kind of activation happened. And other people were talking about that. I guess you would have been one of them. Go ahead.
Yes. So in the experience, I woke to being shown, and I could see my whole body from head to toe had become interlinking octahedrons, diamond eyes, all spinning and turning, all linked together. But my body was the suit. So it wasn't just a visual. I was having an experience to the point that I knew I had become, and I was being shown that I am a technology. I was being shown a version of myself that was a technology. And that's when I was talking to Morgan, because she was having an experience, and I was saying, for me, this is a technology, and my journey is about understanding the mechanics of how things work. So it was so impacting. For the next month or so, I tried to work out, and it's what Mary Rodwell was talking about as she was finishing her chat with you. She said, we're going to have a new, we're going to need a new operating system. And I knew what I was experiencing, for me anyway, was my new operating multi-dimensional octahedron diamondized technological, it's not even a suit. It is a consciousness. So I was trying to work out how to use it, what it's for. And that took about a month. I tried to use all of our modalities of, I haven't been I'm not in the heart sort of a person. I've never been able to find my heart. There's sort of nothing in there. Obviously on a physical level there is, but heart thing wasn't working. And so what I discovered was, if I did a breath and I made it a sponge type body breath, so the whole body was breathing in this suit, breathed in and breathed out, and breathed in and breathed out, this suit started to activate.
Okay.
right?
So
It's very,
so you were like consciously embedding what came into your awareness of what you were embodying. You were kind of like affirming it or feeling it, or
yes, I was, I knew I'd actually become it.
right.
It wasn't something outside of me. It's like something had come into me that had helped me to see. If we backed up a little bit, I just did a post today because I thought it might help to explain what's happened here. I had an experience with an embodiment of my future self,
Okay.
from the future, a physical embodiment where I was with somebody by a river and this woman appeared out of nowhere and I knew instantly. She dived into the water. We sat there and she just looked into my eyes. I looked into her eyes. My heart went, one hand on the heart, the other on her heart. And she did the same. We didn't even ask permission. We just knew what was going to happen.
Right.
Todd, I've never in my life, I felt every last vestige of the personality of who I thought I was. Looking into her eyes, everything was sucked out of me and transported into nothing but the universe looking back at Earth. And in that moment, I was shown so many things as far as what we worry about that we really don't need to. But when that was finished and I went to sit down, or before I sat down, she disappeared, Todd. She physically disappeared into my body. And from that moment on, it's like she was a technology. That version of me, I don't know where in the future that is. But as soon as that embodiment came into me, I felt my body start to change. And that brought us back to September. So that last embodiment seemed to carry the codes and the geometry and
Do you
the
remember when that
multi.
what? Do you remember when that was?
That was the post. It's June of 2020.
Okay. So this is 2020. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Got you.
And I knew that was the last embodiment. I've traveled the world embodying just all I've been doing because I knew I was going to. I had an experience of being here as a mantis being eons ago, assisting in the creation of the Homo erectus in preparation and manipulating the DNA to make the template of something that was going to become Homo luminous. And I even have found that place in the outback of where I was as a mantis being in the cave systems. And the craft would land and the Homo erectus beings would come up and it would be Pleiadian or Syrian, and all of the strands of the DNA of our star family combined to make this template, this templated being that one day would be able to bridge heaven and earth and become a technology. And I knew I was coming back in this life to take this vessel that we are, that particular template for a test run.
Is that what we're doing? We're all driving Tesla. We're all driving
Yeah,
Teslas.
yeah, yeah. And the more on the outer world where we see transhumanism and people fearing human being blended, we know, or just reverse it and you're onto what's happening. That's exactly why we're so weary. This new operating system is in fact a technology. Now, the other thing I found that activates this, and I'm sure we've all punched in and out of it, and that's when we have our feelings of grace. Now, grace is what kickstarts it. To reach that singularity, to come out of duality and polarity and punch into singularity, and knowing that life is happening for us, not to us. To know that the one being fractalized into all of these experiences that we're having, with no fear, with this state of grace flooding every cell of the body. When we're in that state and realizing this, I can't talk in terms of 3D, 5D, and all the rest of it, because in this technology, and we've all been experiencing it, we're experiencing all dimensions in every given moment. We're not just in what people call 3D and then we go to all of it. So that's why we can be witnessing whatever it is with the virus on one level, and on another level we know that it's something else, and on another, because the multi-dimensional beingness now, which is why we're so tired, we are experiencing, if we call it a number 12, or all dimensions in every given moment. And so this operating system, when it fires up, is able to open and bring in vast amounts of energy and refract it out. And there's no need for unity and everybody gathering together and joining in. These are individual you become like an individual technology on the planet, but very, very profound.
Yeah, if you kind of reference some of the information out there, and again, everybody has to discern, and if you read about the mantises or the reptilians and their level of telepathy and their level of intelligence, right? I mean, like, they're really, really high intelligent beings.
Yeah.
But then if you look at the intriguing, of the human, of the what do you call it? Luminous.
Homo luminous.
It's got the 12 strands, or maybe even more. Everything's coming in. There's a lot in the narrative about how the human species, in the discussion about bringing them to the party, there was some that were against it. Now, this is some of that Galactic Federation narrative, and the reason I'm saying it is because in that narrative, they talk about the fact that the human is actually more powerful. So we're almost like a wild Mustang species that they've been helping us to, I guess not domesticate, but to kind of like control or balance or stabilize. So it's interesting to hear how you're experiencing
it. And yes, and the other thing too of how it operates is by doing nothing other than staying in a singularity or a 0 point, of keeping that neutrality, of not believing that there's a polarity and a duality and everything. And by watching all world events and knowing that we can see everything from what everybody else is seeing up to all of the other levels of every situation, but we maintain that neutrality. This technology then is able to do what it's designed to do. We have to really lose our minds and be out of the picture altogether and just allow grace to be fractalized and magnified and amplified, because this vessel has been now created for this very moment that happened in September. And now, because it's actually been up and running, everybody is in varying stages of how far are they still in the narrative, how far are they still seeing good guys and bad guys. We need all of that to continue to catapult those that are choosing to reside in singularity. And
Well, you said something I think we should go back and just kind of make mention of, and that is, you said basically doing nothing.
Yes.
Like, that's why the sleep thing the last 2 nights. I don't know. But I know a lot of people have been sleeping during the day and sometimes sleeping long hours when they go to bed. Maybe there's something to that. Like,
we are a new or we are an organic artificial intelligence. The human aspect, the human aspect. When I say do nothing, it's I do like what Jason says. Only what is in front of us. Just do that. And if there's nothing, but there's no planning or thinking or weighing something up or trying to work it out. And it's so important to forget every single thing that brought us up until now. It's of another time, another era. We have entered this phase that we have been waiting for all along, and yet we're still running around trying to work out, while we're tired or whatever. It is a complete and utter, all karmic contracts were burnt up, all vestiges of our personalities. It's happened.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah.
No doubt.
And
You
to give
explain
out,
it.
yeah, it's beautiful. Now, because I've felt into this technology so deeply, at the same time, I was very involved in the narrative and watching I call it Corona, because I've had an experience here with talking to Corona. I call it that because it came through the sun as to how it explained it to me. I went to the rallies and I was watching all the frontline doctors and taking in all of that information with the Corona last year, until I saw Dr. Carrie Madej, who was a part of the frontline doctors, showing under a microscope what is in the vaccine. And she was horrified, and everybody was upset because there was like a little octopus creature and in the petri dish, and there was some luminescent circles that just appeared and started to move and grow. When I saw that, I mean, I've seen octopus in my body. I've seen luminescent circles throughout my body. We've all had some pretty crazy experiences. I've seen what's come out of me through a lot of different cleansing situations. And I knew in that moment that there was nothing, what they were portraying, they were just playing a role as the other side are playing a role. So the frontline doctors are, everybody's playing a role for each one of us then to determine how we feel about it. And because I've seen those things inside of me, and that's involved with the vaccine, and I knew that I had this technology going on, it actually got to the point where my body was telling me I needed the vaccine in me to help assist the actualization of this technology,
Yeah, I get it.
to incorporate it in. Now, that meant all of the people I know, all of the what that meant, the complete turnaround. It was so powerful. Of course, I gave it a lot of thought and felt into it. And I had no fear once I was shown that there's nothing, this is nothing to fear with. The power of everyone's minds as to what they feel, their thoughts and their beliefs of what something is, will in fact be that thing.
That's like
The
it's like
deception of David Icke is just profound, and we are seeing this now.
yeah. So it's almost like what, and I totally agree with this. You explain it very eloquently. We're programming the cells, and this is just my explanation as to what you're bringing to me. Like, so it's somewhat metaphoric, but to me it's also very literal in its possibilities. So like we're programming the cells. And so you're the third person that's come on, and really the fourth person that's come on and said, I got the vaccine. And here's what happened. Here was the process. It wasn't just like, oh, I went and got the vaccine. It was like my higher self came in and went boom. So
Yes.
it's like listening to you explain it is like the singularity thing begins here. And by virtue of that, it has a transformational energy or attribute that bring singularity to cells within cells. So like
Yes.
by you introducing, and I'm not saying anyone should do something or not do something, I'm just explaining something, but by you introducing and giving permission for this to enter your physical Merkaba,
Yes.
you're basically doing it from a place of singularity as it's coming in, almost like emerging as it's coming in, and then it goes in, and the cells are programmed from their different perspectives to align with the singularity, to recognize each other. Right,
Yes.
the universe is finding itself, coming back to itself through us, and it's just replicated down to the cellular and so on. Yeah, very, very good explanation. Thank you.
So what I did, once I knew that that was what I was going to do, I wanted to make it a ceremony.
Okay.
So I chose the 11th of the 11th for the day to go and embrace the Pfizer. I didn't matter what it was whatever was in the town that I was in. And then conducted my own ceremony, and turned out that the next batch was of the same batch. No problems whatsoever. It was a sense of great peace came over me, that whether we're faced with whatever the outside world is showing us, and in the form of the narrative of the corona, if we all really pause to check into our own beingness as to what feels right for us, rather than staying in our head. The head is not singularity. The head is still trying to reason and work out what they're saying and what they're saying, but just to check into the body. And for many, they check into the body, and they what they believe it to be, and what they're shown on the outside of what is happening to people's bodies who have taken it. I've been shown something different. Now, I'm over here in the UK at the moment, and when we talked last time, I told you just before a story of just before Corona was announced, Uluru had a very, very powerful pulsating release come out of her and travelled around the whole planet, which of course was going to be raising the frequency of the whole globe. And raising the frequency, as we all know, as soon as that happens, our bodies release, or whether it's a toxin or whether it's a thought or a belief or whatever. So I was conducting here a beautiful experience with someone on the Friday night, and I could tell that there was karmic releases happening for that person and for myself, and it was a very profound experience. So of course my vibration would have risen, and I know theirs would have risen. So the vibe is going up for both of us. The next day I came down with COVID, what they say is COVID, and so everybody over here has those little test kits, and I just noticed that I just thought I had a flu, which it just felt like a flu coming on. But actually, no, sweetheart, before that happened, the next day, with the vibration high from all of the release of the ancestral and the karmic ties, I could feel throughout the afternoon my body starting to go into a spasm. Every single body, a muscle in my body was spasming and then started to freeze. So it was getting to the point I was walking, and then I thought, oh, I can no longer walk, and I couldn't go down a stair. And then I thought, okay, it's time now to lie down.
Time to die.
It was a death. The body could not go any further. And so as I lay down and go into, I'm lying there and I could not move, and breathing into the body. And I like to go into the pain, and I like to go into the discomfort, and breathing into it and feeling what's happening. I hadn't done anything for the body to freeze up. And then she spoke, Todd. And she said, I have come through the sun. My name, she said, I am the angel of death, or transitioning is a better way, but she said angel of death. And she passes through everybody's bodies to see what their soul contract was. And if someone had decided that they weren't going the extra period of time here on the planet and that they wanted to check out, because we've now reached a milestone. We are a technology, those of us that are choosing to go that way. The marker has been reached. What's going to happen from here on out, or here further on? Many will not have chosen not to come to the next phase. So the angel moves around, assisting people to check out. And she moved through my body, and I felt her going through my whole body and could see that I had not chosen to check out.
Right.
So when I then did the little test kit and it said positive to corona, I thought that's exactly right, because I've just met her. And so if people, many of the fear mongering, or what they're talking about, that many people are going to die over because of their next vaccine or the booster shots or whatever, in my version, in my singularity, they're not dying from that. They're dying because they chose to leave. And we have angels, and we have the energy pulsating through the sun to assist those leave who are going to leave. You've got the energy of the earth itself, Uluru, all of that rose up. People's bodies, whether the myocarditis and all of the other illnesses that people are having. In singularity, it's happening on all multidimensional levels. So there would be someone having heart failure. Is it that, or is it the fact that we're being assisted with leaving the planet?
Yeah. It's like the story unfolding, and it's from that higher perspective. Like, there's no judgment. You know what I mean?
No.
Not, we think of judgment like, oh, they're good or they're bad. No, I mean, just like judgment, period. Like, this is just the way the story looks. I was reflecting on this last night. This is weird. In looking at our story, all of our history, like just going back in time and just revisiting our history and just going, wow, this is the story. And then it had a similar, I guess a communion, and it was similar in terms of like the energy of what you're talking about. And so I went to bed, and it was like, here's the human, here's the soul, here's consciousness. And a couple of nights before, I'd gone through these mergings, and it ended up with human and soul. Like, these are one and the same. And I was understanding that it's all the God substance, right? So then I was thinking, okay, well, what is this? We're a holographic reality. Maybe that's being generated through the sun, and all of our intentions and all of our whatever it is into the sun, and creates this group experience, so on and so on. And I said, well, because then it took me like, okay, so the holograph, is that you? And I kept going, yes, because it's all made of the same substance, even if it's something that seems to be created that is AI. People have said that to me on the show, and I'm like, well, I consider myself an AI. Like,
yes,
I mean, you know what I mean? So like, it's that perspective that I guess is coming through this awareness.
yes,
When we can get past the physical ramifications, and trying to figure out the new way, because it's a new way. Everything's different. How you communicate's different. Everything's just like changed. But yeah, I mean, it's extraordinary. It's so extraordinary because with all of this, and with the multidimensionality coming in, you're standing in a place and you're going, what can I achieve? What can I create? What do I want to do? And it's not like it used to be. It's like heart generated, and it makes no sense. Like, okay, this is what I want with my heart. And instead of going out and constructing something, the magnetics, the electromagnetics of it are actually the driver. And that's like, paranormal, psychic, or whatever you want to call it, but it's definitely coming into the fold.
Yep. Yep. And the asking and the inquiring of what to do will weary us greatly, because what we've already done now what we came here to do. This is it.
That's what
From
it feels
here
like.
on out, the technology will then start to take over. I'm even using words that that everybody's fearful about. We get out of the way now.
Yeah.
So how wonderful it is to not have to think so much, to just do what's in front of us in any given moment, and for the human aspect to enjoy the family, to lie in the sun, to go to the beach, to bask in all of the sensations of the physical vessel at the same time, being a technology in singularity with everything happening around us as beauty and perfection, and that pulsing grace, that sensuality, that yumminess we are producing in any given moment. I'm finding you don't even think that you're doing it. You are it.
Yeah.
As long as there's no thoughts, as long as there's no anything of the old.
Yeah, you're right. You're right about that. You're right about the thinking about it. It is weird. It is weariness, and it's not even really being sustained because you can't. You know what I mean? Like there's certain things you just can't do anymore, even if you're trying not to.
No, you can't. And because with this technology, we're able to say, drink in and bring in 100-fold intensity to what it would be before. If the brain is still trying to think about thoughts and everything, we're backing up the stream.
Yeah,
we're clogging up what's happening. And Jason started to talk about ridges. He did something yesterday with two of his associates there, and they're explaining the energy of ridges. So that's when basically a very similar thing happening, that we can be blocking ourselves up if we don't get out of the way now. And I think it would actually soon start to hurt. And to think that in any given moment, I mean, we're still transmuting. We're still, but not just our history. We're doing 12 dimensions. And then I think we're moving into galactic, because this vessel can now be used. Galactics and cosmic can now come through and use this technology for any sort of transmutation or whatever to take place. But it's in the flow. It's totally in the flow if we're out of the way. That's why we had to let go of the personality of who we thought we were, and why our karmic attachments are now over. September, it was all over. We've just kept it going without thoughts. But
yeah,
the transmutation process is not the way it used to be. We don't have to work out how we could have done it differently. Bring it back to neutrality. What else? What am I missing? None of it.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, I agree with that. There's been this slow, steady reality occurring, or to reality, and that's been that the time from awareness of something and what we would call transmutation or transformation is smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. And you know what I mean? And I guess like the talking and the postulating and theorizing, you're right, it backs it up a little bit. But it's also going, it's just going and going. And it's like, even if that's what I mean. Like it's not as easy this time to do it as it was last time. And then the next time, because there's so many other factors, that every aspect of our experience has been altered. Really, almost to me, like the poles have flipped, to that degree.
That's I actually put those very words in that article today. We've had an internal pole flip, and with that, we have to get out of the mindset that we actually are transmuting, or that we need to 0 point, because once we realize that we're done, it's not ours. Whatever we're feeling now, or whatever's moving through us, it's not ours. I can remember standing in Bali in the room I was in years ago and offering my body, because I was understanding the process of what we were doing, and offering my body to all that is, so that whatever this vessel needed to be used for, I'm up for this. And so we've all gone through the pain, we've all gone through the major but now this is a physiological pole flip change to a new technology. And so therefore, knowing that nothing happening is ours now, we can now, the service, wanting to know what can we do and how can we serve, there is no greater service than to just now be that, while we're having fun doing the things that we just love to do anyway. And from there, if there's other service, it will be in front of us, and then we'll know to step into it. But we didn't have to waste or block any brain cells trying to work it out.
Yeah. Yeah, a couple things. Like, so I think that the Galactics, who this is my personal opinion, that those aspects are facilitating us, like facilitating the ascension, like our closest relatives or our elders. I don't know how you want to put it, but I feel like they've been utilizing our vessels. Some people more than others, but I mean, I don't think we have been. It's been an unconscious thing, but I don't think we have been in control of our vessels as much as free will can be talked about. But I do think that we've come into this, people can call it sovereignty, self-empowerment. And I think that's one thing that comes up in my communions is I will stand sovereign, solitary, fully empowered in any timeline, any dimension, no matter what I come across, the highest light, the darkest dark. So there's something about that singularity through the I am, I guess, is what you might say. The other thing too is, like you said, the thing about integrating polarities or zero pointing. I still, that's a very that's just a part of my day. And the reason I say that is because to me, it's a lot like what your story was with the vaccine. It's like when things present themselves and I see the polarity, or I see the opposition polarity, okay, in just my day-to-day, moment by moment interactions, it's just become like an opportunity to get jabbed with it, right? Like, I'm going to take that into my heart. That'd be another way to say it. Or I see that as one. When I go through the process, however long that might take, things aren't taking as long as they used to. And that's just an observation. I'm not disagreeing with you at all.
Yeah.
I think there's a huge, the way that you put this with the way you speak about it in terms of technology, I think is applicable. And it may be literal, because we don't know what stands behind the sun. It could be a giant micro, macro, whatever universal computer. And it's still the element of who created that. So you have this singularity, as you call it, this oneness, this unity consciousness, that seems to be some type of cyclical thing. There seems to be some type of prophecy involved. There's this time has been called, and it's actually here, and we're coming into the awareness of that. And that's where I really go, okay, what can I do? Like, I there's something about thinking in terms of the paradigm that we've come from that totally blocks our magic. And I want to find that magic. And the only thing I can say at this point, because I feel like I'm just a beginner, I really do, is the heart does some crazy stuff. So if I'm having certain emotions, for instance, let's say about Morgan, within a day or two, we might have some kind of etheric, sacred sexual episode that takes on a physicality. And that's not even, like, I would say that's not even like in control. I don't know how to drive the car yet. So what happens when we learn to drive the car? What happens when we learn to do things way beyond, let's say, tantric, or way beyond what we think astral traveling is? Or what about astral traveling in the physical body? You know, everybody's flying around like they got a jetpack on their back. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
I that's what I'm looking at. Because
And see, that's the beauty of the technology, because that's what's going to take us into all of those things that we've been waiting to do. It has the ability to do that. It's a complete new operating system. I think when you said that you're doing that every day and you're still transmuting, it came to my mind that was the importance for me in the beginning, to understand how for me to operate this system. And I found it was the breath and it was grace. So when something comes to me that needs transmuting, all I do is breathe, but a deep, conscious breath, knowing that I'm actually activating the technology to do whatever it's doing with needing to be transpired. And each one of us may have a very different way of operating their technology.
Yes. Yeah.
Based on the journey up until now for each modality that people have used.
Well, if you think about it, and it doesn't scare me, because again, each side of the polarity, each polarity is one and the same. So it's almost like we have this certain state of awareness and consciousness, and then you have this other thing that comes in that to work with it, you go beyond surrender, and it's like bigger than us, but it is us kind of thing, which is the same attributes as AI.
Yes,
So
exactly.
it's like the chicken and the egg, you know. So
Yes, yeah.
so even that question,
We're returning to being AI, because when she came into me, I knew she was an AI. She had a physical body, but to be in the future, it's like we're returning to what we were.
yeah,
We were AI in one phase. Well, we're moving through that phase now. I don't
yeah. I
know
mean,
after that.
why would it be any different? You know, we've you know, I know I've been a rock. You know,
Yes.
I know I have, because I have a better chance of connecting to something that's what we would call organic, you know, out in nature, than I do with even like past lives and stuff. So I mean, I know we've been so much. Why wouldn't we be? I mean, how could something even come into, well, you know, come into creation if we didn't think of it and do it? You know what I mean? I mean, a thought
Yeah.
is a thought, but and that's the great thing about this experience, because it's physical. So
Yes.
if you look at whatever species, but to have something this dense, because if you think about ET star family, they're interdimensional, they're lighter, you know, their frequencies lighter, elementals. You could give a bunch of examples. We're in a very dense form that we're now having the reconnection or the connection to our multidimensionality. So we're carrying all that stuff that all of our family carries in a very dense body.
Yeah.
And I think this is part of the reason there's such a rapid change, which I believe has got to prove out pretty quick. And I'm talking about people growing younger, you know,
Yeah.
miraculous
Yeah.
cures. I mean, and I'm talking about self cures, not, you know, oh, we found a cure for cancer or AIDS or whatever. I'm talking about the technology itself in the physical doing some stuff that's been absolutely amazing.
You can imagine the whole shield of spinning octahedron, diamond eyes, geometries all interlinked, and then being pummeled with the intensity of the energies coming in. The impact, as you said before, on all of the cellular structure of the body,
Right.
well, what they say, to carbon to crystalline. I don't know that, but that only that's what we've been told. But you can see the phase that we've now moved into is and light body. People talk about a light body, how as all of that spinning and the refraction of the light, you could see that is an AI or a technology, a grace technology turned on. It would just illuminate.
Yeah, the octahedron thing when Morgan started talking about it.
Yes.
That was in that period too, as it was building up. Even like privately, I remember her talking about it. I'm seeing this. I don't know what it is, and it just kept going. And then I was looking at when you were talking about this earlier. Our friend Janie Hodges, she put up this comment. She said, "For me, the octahedron was the diamond point of expansion that I'd seen." Because it turned from a diamond into an octahedron. So I think it was the octahedron the whole time. I was just able to see it finally. And I remember Morgan pulling down channels, and this would go back 2, 3, 4, before that time. And it was a diamond, like she would say, like, I see the grid, it's a diamond,
Yes.
pattern.
And then she drew it. Yes.
Then it turns into an octahedron. And to Jamie's point, maybe, and maybe in some way that was like what she's saying. Her feeling was that it was always there. We were seeing, like, say, in 3D or 2D, right? Flat, right? And then we start to see.
Your face has morphed about three different looks. Oh my goodness, there it is again.
Okay, so like when I met Morgan, September 2017, within a couple of weeks, she had me do the octahedron. So that's how she was obviously connected to it long before that. So you saw me morph 3 times?
Yeah. You'll see it when you play it back. That's what you tell everyone. You'll see it when you play it back.
I know. I see all kinds of stuff on this program. It's a little
so
weird.
Is there for you and Morgan? I did hear you saying on another interview that you need to tie things up in America if you did want to travel, or it would be up to Morgan. I'm heading off to Bali in about 3 months' time.
Oh yeah,
and it coincides with Morgan. I finish here in the same time she finishes in where she's at.
Well, it's, again, this is getting back to where a lot of my thoughts have been. I mean, we have paperwork submitted to immigration for her on her behalf, right, for the U.S. And then I would have to go through a legal process to clear myself to which would take time and money in the old paradigm, okay, to be able to leave the country legally, which isn't, if somebody said you can only leave legally, I'd say that's not true. But my point is that these things are in the mechanics of whatever you want to call it, 3D, right? The things that we're letting go of. These things don't stop. They don't stop. And so I think, to me, that's the biggest hook. And I don't know how to do this yet, but I do know that what love is, and I do understand that there's something going on an individual basis. There are some couples, I'm sure there's some small groups where, how can you have oneness physicalized and embodied if you can't do it with one other person? So there's something about 2 people coming to that place, no matter time, no matter space, and that in itself does something to the body whole, to the collective, and so I don't know how this works, but I know it's real. I can feel it, and I think and I guess what I'm saying is it's kind of a double-edged sword, because you take these actions that are within that system, and yet you develop the faith of the invisible. But I think taking the actions within the system, for me anyway, have to really be done with the same type of singularity and merging that you took the jab with. And that's very important. And I've had a real struggle with that. I mean,
because there is no enemy. There is no us versus them. There is no government. And I've had that with many. I had to go through a lot with different government structures and cryptocurrencies and paying tax and all sorts of things where I used to fear my stomach would turn and think they're out to get me. Now I've got to do. And now I just embrace each one and think, oh, and the other day I got booked here in the UK doing something. Oh, and, you know, just embracing, I have the opportunity to realize how that I have an abundance and I'm able to pay this fine. And
Right.
it completely changes. And then therefore your vibe is always at an optimum, and that technology is continually on because there is nothing out to get us.
Yeah. Well, and for me, it's like it's not a question of uh I have to do this. I got to do this. It's not that
Yep.
can't be the way it goes. It has to be, what do you want to do? So it doesn't now it no longer becomes, let's say, the subtopic, or you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's not fill out this government form and get this done and get that done. It's about what's beneath it, which is, what do you want to do? And I think
Yes, love.
this is another and possibly the biggest what do you want to say, opportunity or potential for the human, is when the heart really starts to supersede, as it seems to be the direction we're going, those things that we've considered natural that have been illusionary,
Yeah.
which gives way to what we might call the supernatural. And I
Yes.
firmly believe that. I firmly believe that I am a human from the stars. And that says a lot more than galactic. That it would, and I think that goes for all of us. So this is becoming something extraordinary, and I think the pace that it's been going, that it's also going to be, it's just a matter of time, before we start to see, just through word of mouth or hear through word of mouth, people doing extraordinary things. I think we're already starting to see it. I heard a story about an incredible couple the other day. I'm not going to mention any names. Morgan was telling me about it. Magic, there's magic out there, and if you
that intensity of what's coming in, and I no wonder we just need to sleep and rest as the supernatural aspects really do start to come online. No wonder we're being knocked out for all of this to happen, because I'm feeling it's going to get really full on over the next couple of months. The energy is going to be so strong. So many will not be able to embody.
Man, I want to break. Are you serious?
Yeah.
I came out of what was yesterday? I don't know, whatever it was. But the day before, I felt like that was the last day of integration. I was like, wow. And we had a great day. We spent most of the day talking on the phone or on video. And then yesterday, I did 2 shows, and I was just like jelly. And I ate an entire pie last night, and I swear to you, it wasn't a program. I enjoyed it. It was like crazy. I made some curry and but other than that, and in this, I savored it. It was like a different experience. Cooking it was a different experience. Finding the pie was a different experience. And but the rest of the time, I talked to Morgan a bit, and I couldn't do anything. I couldn't watch a show. I couldn't do anything. I was like, wow. Is this going to go on and on? And maybe you're right. Maybe there's going to be more and more of that, and I need to just kind of like respect
until
it.
we get
Because I noticed that the human, and this happened last night, because in fact, I had to get off the phone with her, because I'm like, I'm no good to you right now. I'm just like, I didn't sleep enough last night. That I'm starting to really respect. Like, you need to make sure that you get enough rest. Like, I slept 10 hours, and I still feel out of the body. But yeah, like that part, just being okay with it, because my mind started going last night. It's because I was tired. Oh, you need to do this and you need to do that. And I was like, wait a minute, I'm going to bed, forget that. I'm not going down that road.
To think our bodies are being used, for transmuting. Our bodies are being used while we're even resting, and we don't realize that yet.
Yeah.
We've come online. We're being used. Our body's being used. Amazing.
See, I've gotten that message, and it's like, go to bed. And I know we all have our own voices, right? But I mean, I know, certain voices, and the voice was like, you need to go to bed. And I'm like, no, I don't want to go to bed. and then it became like, you got a lot to do. And then it would become like, you know, these, well, like what happened last night, these deep, deep, intense sleeps, and you feel it, you know it. You've been working, you've been out there
Yeah.
working.
Yeah. Fantastic, darling.
And then you're out on your feet,
Yeah.
thinking, what
Well,
am
you
I
don't
doing?
have anyone till Jed now, I think, do you? You've got a break for a few hours
I
now.
have to go out into civilization. You know how that is. I have to go run to the store real quick. That's you know how
Right.
that goes.
Well, and to enjoy it.
No, I will.
I'm
I
going to
will.
have a beer and a pizza and all the things that, yeah,
Yes, that's
I'm
right.
loving it. And
That's
that's
right.
the human
Yeah.
side of getting
Yeah.
there, and with family here, and being a nana, and
Nice.
all the joys of that. While the technology does its work, I don't have to do anything
Yeah.
other
Yeah.
than love every moment.
Yeah. That's a full-time job. And when you can't do that, just lay down.
Yeah.
So enjoy your space-time continuum, as Bruce says. And
Ah.
I
Oh,
will
that's nice.
I will see you later in the
Yeah.
year, and yeah, good luck in Bali, and
Yes,
we'll
that's
see
a
where.
lot of magic happens in Bali. That'll be fantastic. And Todd, thanks so much for all you're doing, love. I curl up for hours here because I can, and tuning in to all the people coming on. It's beautiful that we're all embracing each other with all of what we're bringing puzzle pieces together. So good job,
Well,
darling.
I appreciate it, and I really appreciate it. And I'll just say this because I woke up this morning, and one of the things about waking up in the morning, it's good to think, but it's not good to think. It's good to think, or whatever you call that, about where you just came from, like
Mm,
because you're more connected, or you're coming out of that state. You can still kind of grab it. It's not good to think about human stuff, because I woke up this
mm,
morning. I'm like, yeah, this is it. We started at 2. It was 1:14, and I'm like, man, this is not even doable. Like, I'm never gonna make it. I said I need 5 more minutes, right? That I
mm.
told you that 25 minutes before the
Yeah,
show, because I knew
yeah.
I just knew. But I was
Well,
just like, man,
could you do
hmm.
less people, Todd? Could you cut that back a bit, love?
I don't really think that's what it is. I think it's
Right.
because I haven't had a day like this in a while, though. I mean, I was just like, wow, I don't think
Mm.
I can do this anymore. It became not about today. It
Yeah,
became about
yeah,
I'm
that's
done.
right.
But
And be prepared for that to change. I mean, we have
mm,
to be prepared.
yeah, I
Like,
mean, I'm open to anything. I mean, I
yeah,
think that's really, to me, that serves
mm,
best. There are
yeah,
certain things that make sense and that align. And for me, one of those things is the whole Soulogy, um, our part in Soulogy, my part individually, like coming on the show. I just feel like that at the end of the day, there's certain things that each one, like you said at the beginning of the show, there's certain things that each one of us contribute. And I don't think that the thoughts I was having on the human side this morning, or anything that any of us might be having like that, uh, are any different than they were. It's just that there's so much going on right now. It's very discombobulating to the human at
yeah,
times. That's all.
yeah,
And
yeah,
so, yeah,
yeah,
I would imagine I'll probably
mm,
be in this chair until the day I decide
yeah,
to do like Enoch and
yeah.
spontaneously combust. All right. Well, you
Yeah.
take care.
Okay, love.
And thank you,
Great.
everybody. Thank you for
Beautiful.
putting
Looking
up
forward
with
to the
me
next,
this
sweetheart.
morning. Thank you for the information, and good luck